All right. Welcome, Anna. I'm very excited about this because I usually host SEO people. This is the first content-focused episode, but as we mentioned, they're interwoven, they go together. So I'm very excited to speak about SEO's counterpart today. Welcome.
Okay.
Um, For those watching, Anna is a freelance content writer for B2B SaaS companies and for marketing agencies. She has over 10 years of experience and has written hundreds of high-performing articles for high-profile companies like Agorapulse, CXL, Social Media Examiner, and the like. So we're in for a treat as we get to learn from someone with tons of experience as well as someone who's on top of her game. We're going to be speaking about how to differentiate your content in an AI world. We know the web has become saturated with AI content since its release, and we're going to be exploring how to make our content stand out in that sea of AI sameness and hopefully get rewarded for it by search engines and generative engines in the form of ranking high or getting quoted as a source. And Anna has prepared for us 6 ways to do that, to differentiate our content. And let's get right into it.
Sounds great. So I think it might be helpful to kind of talk about the context a little bit and what we're seeing with AI and content and things like that. I know that for content marketers, for writers, AI has been like one of the only things that we're talking about, for the past maybe year or two, the past 18 months or so. And I think that AI can be helpful, in an ideal situation where it can help you with researching, it can maybe help you with editing, repurposing, things like that in theory. But I think that if we're using AI to actually write content, or honestly even edit content, it's probably going to end up the content will end up sounding pretty generic, which is a huge problem. I mean, nobody wants to read that. So this is one of the reasons that I actually don't use AI tools really very much at all in my content workflows, and certainly not when writing or editing content. I think it's so important to make unique, helpful, original, valuable content. You really need the human touch.
Yeah, that's the state. I agree with that. I've found the same.
Yeah. So I think one of the most important ways that I found to differentiate content, to differentiate my human written content from AI content is, to add the firsthand experience. I mean, that's, ever since the Google's EEAT guidelines came out, of course, that's been something that a lot of content marketers are talking about. Getting the firsthand experience in there, getting the expertise in there it's crucial. And this is honestly one of the reasons that a lot of the SaaS companies that I work with are in, MarTech or ad tech or sales automation, is because I have firsthand experience and using all of those tools for my own business or for clients. So, I'm able to add firsthand experience into those articles, which helps to differentiate them.
That makes sense. And are there specific things you are doing? I'm thinking back to something Bernard from ClearScope mentioned in a webinar yesterday. He said that I don't know what to call it, pronouns, I, and things like that to show first-hand
Yeah.
experience is a specific tactic for doing that. Can you
Yeah.
expand a bit on that?
Yeah, I do try to do that. I have to say that when, I've been writing as a freelance writer for 10 years. And in the first few years, I was so hesitant to write about myself as my own experience, because the content was about a product or a framework or something like that. And adding myself into the content, it just didn't seem relevant. So now I would say almost anything I write has some element of firsthand experience in it, because it adds credibility, and it shows that you know what you're talking about. You've actually done it yourself. So an example that I can share is I worked with the team at Hunter to put together a comparison article comparing alternatives for GMass, the tool GMass. And, I could have just used AI tools to generate that list. There's so many software lists out there, and they all read kind of the same. So instead of doing that, what I did was I actually signed up for all of the alternatives. I used them myself. I tested them out. Do they actually do what they say? And do they do what the other articles say that they do? So yeah, so I think that, showing what something actually does and showing that you have experience it just makes the article so much more credible.
Yeah, of course, it's more work, like you say. It's gonna
Oh
take a
yeah.
while to test them, but that's how it's done properly. If you want to do it properly, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And actually, it does get rewarded. Cyrus, I think, that's how you say his name, from ZPSEO, did a report that's the number one thing that I think number one factor for ranking right now. I think in generative engines, I don't want to butcher it, but anyways, it's important.
Yeah.
Studies show. So
That's
yeah.
good to hear. I like that because I find it extremely useful.
Yeah. What else?
I think, well, I write for SaaS companies, B2B SaaS. So we do quite a lot of product-led content. Instead of just writing about the product in a really general way, adding product walkthroughs is incredibly useful as well. So, sometimes that can kind of turn into almost a tutorial. But I think that if you do product-led content right, then you're answering a question that the reader has, and then you're also positioning the product in a way that shows how it, solves the problem, how useful it is. But you're also adding, real examples of what the product can do. So you're showing some screenshots, you're showing some workflow. Yeah. And you're showing the actual value that the product can offer. So yeah, and I do this for most of my clients. An example I can share is I worked with the team at Foreplay, which is an ad tech company. They do the product has swipe files and creative briefs. And when they were releasing their Instagram features, where they started to support Instagram content in their swipe files, they had me do a product-led piece that was, we talked about how to create Instagram mood boards, but then we also worked in, how to use Foreplay to, to pull the content from Instagram, to save it to your swipe file, and then, to turn it into a creative brief that you could share with your team and that you could actually use to, to move forward with your creative project.
Very nice. I was working with a content agency who did this, and I really enjoyed seeing it for two reasons. Well, one, it increases conversion rate. The point about creating content, one point is you are speaking about something that is related, that your product can help your target audience with. And so speaking about that topic, but not speaking about the product, is almost as if you're writing that content. Well, it decreases its conversion potential. And the second thing goes back to again the effort it takes to write good content. You need to know the product as a content writer.
Yeah,
So,
and I think for freelance writers, sometimes that can be difficult. I understand that for, content leads, content managers, getting a team of freelancers to understand how your product works, it can be really challenging. I know some clients I work with have really excellent demos that they share, which is very appreciated. And many clients really just give me full access to their products so that I can test it out myself, see, how it really works, see how we get from point A to point B to point C. I prefer doing that. But yeah, I think for content managers who are working with freelancers, I understand that it can be a little bit challenging to get really great product-led content. It helps to give writers really full access to the tool and just let them play around with it and really see how it works.
Great point. It's also difficult. I just started working with my first client for SEO, and it's the same. There's a big learning curve in learning, the audience, the product, the competition, the positioning to do the job properly. So yeah, it's very good.
Information overload.
Yeah, exactly. Should we move on to the next point, which is including subject matter expertise? That's a big one. That's almost like a buzzword.
That could be a whole separate episode or even an entire series of episodes, honestly. But it's so important that I think we have to talk about it. Again, like the Google EEAT guidelines, I think that adding in experts it's just essential now to get quotes from people who have expertise, have some type of authority in the field. It's just critical. And so some of the clients I work with will give me access to internal subject matter experts. So for me, that's often like the product team, or sometimes the sales team, sometimes the C-suite, like executives. So it really depends. That happens sometimes. I would say
most. Trying to close my air conditioner. I was listening. No, my bad. I was listening. Yes. Right. The internal team. Yes.
Yeah, the internal team I think is helpful. I imagine for in-house writers, connecting with internal subject matter experts is much more common. As a freelancer, I would say more often than not, I'm connecting with external subject matter experts. So, I would say that's maybe a benefit of, being somebody who has many years of experience and who has spent a lot of time talking with other people and trying to build a network of, of people with authority, people with expertise. I have a lot of people that I can reach out to and source quotes from or interview. Yeah, I think that that's incredibly useful. And an example I can share, I'm working with the team at Relato, which is a content ops platform. It's actually pre-product, pre-revenue. I think we've written maybe 5 blog posts so far, so it's very new. But so much of what our freelance content team is doing is we are reaching out to just all of the the content experts, content marketing authorities, anyone in content who is saying interesting things and who has an interesting perspective on what's happening with content marketing, content measurement, content operations. So we're pulling in a lot of experts. And then the great thing is that they help share the content because they have really great quotes in our pieces. So then they're interested in sharing it with their own audiences. So I think it adds a lot of value and authority to the content, but then it also, adding in those external subject matter experts, it also helps with distribution.
Yeah, having a network really helps, and that's a bonus point for you. For everyone, Ayana, she has a network of experts, which again are becoming, well, I don't know if Google is already at the point where they are really rewarding that, but that's definitely what they've been talking about and where things are headed.
Yeah.
So it's a safe bet. I don't know. Have you seen this type of content? Have you done like a study where you have type of content without subject matter experts and content with subject matter experts and see if it performs better?
That is a fascinating question. No, I haven't done something like that. I would love it if somebody would try that, though, like an A/B test, kind of like an article with and then one without. That would be fascinating. I haven't seen something like that, but I think, yeah, I think to your point, I don't know if adding in subject matter experts helps with ranking or helps with SEO. I don't know. But I can definitely say, at least anecdotally from my own experience, that it helps with distribution.
Yeah, okay. Yes, that's a good point. It's also try to resolve site reach.
Yeah, which, and also can help with backlinks, right? So that's, which can help with ranking. So it's all tied together.
Yeah, right. Yes, another good point.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
So I think that, a lot of what we're talking about here is, how to differentiate your content from AI content. But I do think that there could be a space for using AI tools in creating this content. For example, an AI tool could help you, if you don't have a network of subject matter experts, then an AI tool could help you find those subject matter experts, could help you generate a list. And once you've done interviews, an AI tool could also help you pull out the best quotes, the best excerpts to include in your content. So just some ideas for creating differentiated content, but also doing it somewhat efficiently.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, this is always a problem, isn't it? Well, from my point of view, I haven't heard anyone speak about it, but knowing, how content production works, it sounds difficult to be able to create something systematized, to create a system where you have subject matter expertise in each article at scale, right? Especially at scale. If you're doing, I don't know, 10 articles a week or something, how do you get all of those? You need to have like a well-oiled machine of sorts. And actually, I did create a kind of like a knowledge directory of articles written by subject matter experts completely. And just like you say, I basically used cold outreach to reach out to them. So I found their contact details. I found them in the first place and their contact details. Then I reached out to them. A lot were more than happy to contribute. I think, well, for me, I was just offering them a backlink, but it was still very valuable that a lot of them said yes. And the content quality was incredible for a lot of them. And I did not get to develop the project enough to see the rankings aspect, whether it was just third, it was not enough content to have topical authority, in my opinion. But some of it started ranking very easily, and I think it's related to that. And I had author bios. It was something about growing an agency, and there were agency owners speaking about growing an agency. So you cannot get more subject matter expertise than that. And I had schema markup and everything. I was very passionate about this, and still am. I do think it's the future. Anyways.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think that what you said about doing this at scale, that I think that's the challenge. I know there are some tools that you can use to, to like help a B2B writer, for example, where you can send out your queries to, a list of experts. I use that sometimes. Sometimes it's helpful. And there are some, I've talked recently with a couple of people who actually will do the subject matter expert interviews for you. So that I could see that really turning into a popular service moving forward. So we'll see.
Yeah, and becoming more expensive. Rather than just a backlink, you're paying thousands of dollars.
That's true.
All right, this is a good discussion on that topic. The next you have here repurposing content, which is interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for content marketers, I feel like that this repurposing and also subject matter experts are just two of the most popular topics that we're talking about these days. I think that, if you're writing content, based on keywords or based on, with the intention to rank, it can be so difficult for a lot of B2B SaaS keywords are just, they're too competitive. So it can be really difficult if you're just writing content. So repurposing, allows you to do more distribution, turn content into different formats, share it on social media, turn it into a podcast, turn it into a video. It gives you a lot more, I don't know if we want to call it, it's not really real estate, but it gives you more opportunities, I guess, not necessarily to rank, but to get your content out there, and get more traffic, potentially get more conversions, and also build brand awareness. I mean, it's really, it can kind of address goals throughout the funnel. And I know that for a lot of content marketers, for a piece I was working on recently, I interviewed Ross Simmons and Justin Simon, who are two of the experts on content distribution. Both of them recommended starting with video. So if you're thinking about repurposing content, really start with video, like have that be like the raw material that you're working from. And then you can turn that into clips, you can turn it into YouTube videos, you can take the transcript and turn that into a blog post. And of course you can share it on social media. You can get, all kinds of posts from that. So that's really, the raw material. So for example, I work with Agorapulse they have a really excellent virtual events program where, they do a lot of webinars. They bring in a lot of thought leaders to talk about social media marketing topics. So what I do is I will take the videos or the recordings from the events and then turn those into blog posts where I'm adding context, I'm adding examples, I'm adding resources. So it's just one way that you can repurpose content, starting with video.
Yeah, right. It's a great point, especially for bigger companies that have like more marketing initiatives. They have a podcast, they have this, they have that. You can, as a content writer, you can tap into that as a resource, right? That's smart. Nice. What about search intent?
Yeah, I think search intent or user intent, I mean, that's, a great SEO topic. But I think, the way that we approach, I'm saying we as, B2B writers or B2B SaaS writers, especially, the way that we approach search-driven content, the way that we approach, starting with keywords it's changed a lot over the past few years. And I think, fortunately, I think we're moving past, like the skyscraper content, where it's, you type like a query into a Google search, and then you get this like endless blog post that starts out with like, what is, but it's supposed to be, a bottom of funnel piece. And it's like, we don't need that. Or another example would be the content where you want to learn how to do something. The reason you're searching for it is because you want to answer a question. You want to know how to complete a task. But then the article never tells you. It doesn't actually answer the intent. It's just a bunch of like talking around the issue instead of giving you like a step-by-step. Fluff. Right. So I think that avoiding doing that, avoiding doing any of those things, avoiding, writing a bottom of funnel piece and starting with why is it important? Yeah, don't do those things. So yeah, I think responding to intent is one of the most helpful things that you can do. And it just respects the reader's time, because, they probably don't need to know what the thing is. They need to know how to do it, or, how to solve a problem.
I love that. That has so many implications with everything that's going on now. How just briefly, maybe it made me curious. How do you choose to write about, or keyword or perspectives?
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, that's like the cop-out answer, but it depends. It depends on, of course, the intent. It depends on the goal for the piece. Is it a brand awareness piece? Is it more of a tutorial? Is it a bottom of funnel piece where we really want to drive conversions? So it really depends. When I'm researching a topic, I am checking the SERP. So I am looking at the other top ranking content. But that's really just the beginning. Yeah, I think that checking the SERP, if the idea is you want to know what the user intent is or what the search intent is, then checking the SERP will definitely tell you, but you can also use your own research, your own knowledge of the topic and the audience and their, where they're at in their buyer journey to really inform what you're writing about and how you're answering the questions.
Right. So there's this. So when doing, let's say you want to come up with a content strategy for a company or a certain product, how do you come up with topics to write about? Is I'll share some thoughts here. So one option is you go to a keyword tool and you kind of know, if you have a cold email tool, let's say a tool to send cold outreach, you go to a keyword tool, you know what the product does, you know what it is for, you know what the thing that it does is called, which is cold outreach.
Yeah.
You go there and say cold outreach, and you get all of these. You get, wow, it has 200,000 total search volume, the entire, whatever, with all the keywords, cold outreach tips, cold outreach templates, cold outreach tools, how to write a good cold outreach email, cold outreach copywriting. That is one option, right? Which I am guilty of, and which is not completely wrong, because you do get that is things, those are things people search for. But that, I feel, is being looked down upon more and more. I spoke with William from Pipedrive, who leads SEO content there, William Sigsworth, and he said that, which was very interesting. He said that their new content has at the root product and user insights. So product in the sense that if they're developing a new tool, they will start creating content about that well in advance to its release. And user insights is, pain points and desires that get surfaced from customer conversations, support tickets, sales calls, etc. I found that a very good way of doing it that is rooted in the right things, which is, product or user, rather than keyword tools. And then yesterday, Bernard shared something which may or may not be on the same topic, but he said that instead of keywords, we should be thinking of perspectives, in the sense that, and there's different stages of the funnel, and let's say you're looking to do cold outreach, and you have in the early stage of the funnel, you have, should I even do cold outreach? Should you or should you not? What are the benefits? What are the downsides of cold outreach? In the sense, and these may be keywords, right? I may find these in the keyword tool, and I probably would, but it's starting from, a perspective that someone would want to have at different points in their buying journey. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I really like what you mentioned at the end with the perspectives, using perspectives. I think I don't know if that's like a brand new approach necessarily, but I like the way that it's framed, because it focuses on bringing in what the user wants and really respecting where they are in the buyer journey. I mean, that's so important. Yeah, you're right, because if you search for a topic and all the articles that come up are, they're related to some totally different, or they're just not relevant to you, or they're approaching it from a topic that just doesn't make sense given, where you are in your research process, that's just not useful. So I agree that, yeah, writing, really understanding what the buyer's perspective or the reader's perspective is that's crucial. And I think for and I also like what you mentioned about, using the user insights to inform your content I mean, that's so helpful. I think as a freelance writer, I don't often get access to, to the sales calls or the customer service or, like the customer service tickets. Like, I don't really get to see those things. I know that, in-house writers will definitely can use that material. And sometimes they'll share, like summaries of these different things to help convey the strategy and the positioning and the messaging. I don't necessarily get to see like that raw material, though. Like, I don't get to listen to the sales calls. I would love it if I could. I think that would be really useful. But yeah, I think for in-house teams, I mean, that's gold. That's definitely the way to do it. Yeah, because otherwise you're writing maybe great content, but it doesn't hit because it isn't really speaking to the writer or to the reader.
That's fair. That's spot on. And thank you for mentioning this idea of you're searching. So you're searching for cold outreach, but you're searching for a specific perspective. You want some, and then you get these ultimate guides to cold outreach, and you don't really get that answered, or you have to really read through, and that's not good. And that's what Google keeps saying. The AI is great for longer queries. So how do you do cold outreach when you're a small business with only $50 budget for this and with a domain that's blacklisted or something? And
That's a very long tail keyword.
that's not even realistic, by the way. It's a bad keyword, but that really made some neural connections for me. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you've been following the AI overviews closer than I have. So that's interesting. So you're saying that the AI overviews are kind of are really good for those more specific questions, you're saying?
Yeah, so let's say yes, again, how to do cold outreach. What would be to get how to do cold outreach to get subject matter experts for your content, right? And then instead of getting ultimate guide to cold outreach, you get someone who's written about that specific thing, right? That may be a keyword that people write about, but you can get even more specific or more. Or you say cold outreach on Google, and instead you really want to know, or you write, should I do cold outreach? And then again you get a huge guide. But then if you ask ChatGPT, it answers very specifically what you said, right? It doesn't give you ultimate guide. So I think this is very much where things are headed, and a good argument in favor of perspective-led content.
I love that. Perspective-led content. All right.
That's Bernard.
Yeah, I want to do more of that.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah, well, actually, speaking of Bernard, the last point I wanted to bring up is something that he has talked about a lot, is information gain. I've watched his video on information gain multiple times. So I think if you're writing content that you want to rank, then information gain is, again, one of the best things that you can add to it. So you're adding, you're not just repeating everything that's in like the top ranking articles on the SERP. So you're kind of going beyond what you're seeing in like the top 2 or 3 articles, and you're starting to weave in like the emerging topics or the the topics that the SERP is kind of starting to branch out into. I think that's always something that I try to do. Again, it's a lot of it is about respecting. I mean, it's about you want your content to rank at the top of search results, but it's also about respecting the reader and giving them something that they can't just get in every other article that they're reading. So you're giving them a little bit more, and you're helping them think, kind of beyond what everyone else is doing. So I think that's really valuable as well.
Yeah, right. I'm not too familiar with this information, but it sounds again in the same direction. what are some, and you mentioned them in passing, but what are some ways to do that? How do you create something out of, I don't know if out of nothing, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's a lot of looking at what's currently ranking, kind of saying, all right, well, if I want to create something that is that goes beyond this, what do we need to add? What are I'm trying to think of the right word. What are the kind of topics on the fringe of what everybody that's ranking in the SERP is talking about? What are some kind of next step topics that we could add to this that would add more value, that's still relevant to the question and to the keyword and the topic, but that adds a little bit more value. So I guess an example I can share, I've written a number of articles for Massimo Chirizzi's blog, Div by Zero, and a lot of the content that I've written for him is it starts with the keyword. So we start with doing keyword research. We start with seeing what's happening on the SERP, but then we go beyond that. So for example, if we're writing for a keyword, I wrote an article for him on data enrichment for SaaS. So a lot of the top ranking articles on that topic are software, like lists of software tools or buying guides. So the article that I ended up writing, it had a list of software tools in it, but a lot of it was more talking about how are SaaS marketers actually using data enrichment? How are they using these tools? What are some use cases? Which departments within a marketing, or which units within the marketing department are actually using these tools? And do you really need them for your company? So we tried to kind of answer some of the questions that were more on the fringe to add more value.
That makes sense. And probably subject matter expertise falls into this category as well of the information game. Maybe if this expert has not said that thing ever except in your article.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that all of the ideas that we've talked about here are like, you're not going to do one of them on its own. You're going to do all of them probably, because they all weave together. And I think doing all of them will make your content better. So yeah, you're right. And I think information gain can definitely involve, and in my case, yes, it definitely involved subject matter experts and getting people to talk about these topics in a way that nobody else was, because then nobody can find those answers anywhere else. Yeah, you're right. So yes.
Right. Makes sense. I'll watch that. I haven't watched that from Bernard. I will watch it. Thanks for the
Yeah,
recommendation.
it's a good one. I think it's a couple years old, but I've watched it multiple times. It's really helpful.
Nice. Okay, well, I think we are right on time to end as well. I think we had well, I at least had a lot of fun talking about these different emerging topics that are on all of our minds.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm glad that we got to talk about all of these, and leveraging your SEO expertise and my writing expertise. I think it was a really interesting conversation.
And definitely thank you for coming on and sharing what I also think is the future of content, or definitely the present, how it should be right now, kind of the ideal. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me. I think I hope that these ideas help, fellow B2B writers create, better, more valuable content, because I think as readers, we deserve helpful content, valuable content.
Right. I agree. And if you want content like this done for you, reach out to Anna. She has a lot of experience, and yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, let's close this.